pulling his legs.
You should see what I'm wearing. Normally, I wouldn't have worn this. Normally, I wouldn't have put
Okay,
this
that
on.
is true. Serves you right. And today, I got it.
Yeah, you got your this thing.
I got my coffee. Right,
Okay.
let's go.
So we're good to go. You can watch us live on Facebook and on YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3 is how you can watch. Let's begin with Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Palliative Tinubu orders review of 8,000 naira cash transfer.
Well, I did. Right. Well, I hope that those who have been accusing us of loud criticisms and so on and so forth will now appreciate the job that we do. I need to put that in, especially for those who keep going with the narrative that, this and that. If something is not right, we need to let those who run this country know. And this is a victory for the people because the president himself admits in a statement by Dele Alaki that the president, you remember that the president took a similar decision after listening to complaints from the business community stakeholders and so on and so forth. And so we have a listening president at least. So in that sense, I congratulate, that's not the word, I appreciate what the president has done, backtracking on one of the pivots in which he rested his subsidy program. But that now brings another question. And he says that, the statement says that the president will soon release all the, I don't want to use the word palliatives, but all the measures that will be taken.
Their plans.
Their plans. And so I'm asking question number one, when? But remember that, it is still being said that the panel that's supposed to do that has not even finished meeting. So what do we have here? Where did this idea come from? Who sold this idea to the president, or was it just from him? And that also brings, we now need to ask the question that wouldn't the proper thing have been to sit down, get all the workings together and everything, take your time? I think and suspect that it wouldn't have been a complete disaster if the president waited about 6 months for him to put certain things in place, get a proper plan, get the buy-in of all the stakeholders before embarking on this so-called subsidy removal. Because remember, I still maintain that there is no problem in having a subsidy. It's done all over the world. Governments intervene in certain areas to cushion the effects of whatever and it's been done for only God knows. I mean, do a study of the UK and their welfare system, and you get a sense of what I'm talking about. Could we have waited, for example, to have a better improvement on public transportation, even if it means going flood the place with buses and this and that and so many other things, and maybe to see if you can get your refineries working? But I would not do that. What I would do, or what I thought that one could do, is to sell the refineries not to individuals, but to go to the well-established oil companies to say, Mobil and all these people, look, we need somebody to come and run this thing. Can you take it down for 20 years or whatever it is? Get them working before you now did this. So we need to look at that, and I hope the president is remorseful about this and would take a bit more time and not rush things up. We also need to ask ourselves, what are the circumstances that produce this? Who put him under pressure? Who put him under pressure to? Because there is no way you put this back and forth and back, that you're going to make any sense out of wanting to give certain 12 million people 8,000 a month and so on and so forth. But the good thing is that the president has backtracked, and I salute him for that. I hope he would have learned his lesson, about taking time. You see, when you're a politician, you're on the rostrum and so on and so forth, or maybe when you're running a state, you can quickly do things, and say, okay, this is what it is and that is what it is. When you're running a country, my brother, is a completely different experience is completely different.
Right.
And I hope the president will now settle down and get things going. I mean, you couldn't have done this without a cabinet. But that's a story for another day. So he's backtracked. But what is more worrying is what the next story that Sheriff is going to read out to you now.
Well, the story reads from the Vanguard newspaper, page 5. Anger as petrol price hits 568 naira per litre in Lagos, 617 naira in Abuja, others.
There must be a stronger word than anger. I was infuriated. I don't know if that is strong enough, and I guess thousands of people. Indeed, I must say that the country went into panic mode yesterday. From the feelers that I got, everybody was talking about fuel because we all know the implications. Okay, so I got from my own regular person, on this side of town. I had to call because the first thing we heard was that, it's 700. I went to the loo about 3 times in a row because I said to myself, when is this going to end? So yesterday I got to know that in the Oniru side of things that it was 568. Okay, but apparently in some stations it went up to 617, 617, almost up to 700 in certain parts of the country. And it says that from Lagos, I'm reading from the Vanguard now, from Lagos, Ogun, south to Niger, Borno, Zamfara in the north, it was all tales of woe by motorists and commuters. And it says that while the price shot up from 488 per litre at petrol stations at NNPC to 568, it rose as high as 617, and in some other states 540. The group chief executive officer of NNPCL, Mele Kyari, blamed market forces and so on and so forth. But you see, people are suffering. But it still goes back to the fact that the president needs to fine-tune whatever it is. The question I'd love to ask any petroleum expert is, or any economic expert is, do we suspend this subsidy thing for a while and repackage it? I wonder what you think.
I don't have any thought over this. I really don't have any.
I caught you under the bus there.
No, not really. That's my honest truth. I don't have any. I don't have any.
You don't know. Yes, neither do I. To be honest with you,
I don't have any.
Because why I said that is that I'm trying to reflect the way I felt yesterday. I went into panic mode, and I said to myself, and you see, one of the benefits of age. I don't hate throwing age at these things, but you can't run away from them. I saw our currency move from 1 to 1 to 4 to 1, and everybody was saying it will be better, it will be better. Today, it is almost 1,000 to 1. So the question I was asking myself, how far is this going to go? How far is this suffering going to go? Anyway, it says here that students also express transportation, like in Ojo, Lasso, where you have Lasso, first moved from 100 to 200. Long queue surfaced in Ondo, Niger State, all across the country. It was bedlam. And I hope that those who have the responsibility of running this country would do the rightful and do the needful. Look at Vanguard page 6, and it gives you a picture. It gives you a picture of the despondency in the land. This picture, you have 2 hoodlums here. They're described as hoodlums. They are taking a nap on the railway line.
I can see.
You can see it?
Yeah, look at them.
See, on the railway line. Go to page 6 of the Vanguard. If you go online, I don't know where you get it, but it's there. They're taking a nap on the railway line. Now, we don't know whether this is a suicide bait or this is an effect of drugs. But whatever it is, this picture, and I'm going to look for it and frame it, this picture tells the story of how far down we have gone, in all honesty. Look at them, and they're sleeping peacefully. This one even dengue in leg, sleeping nice and quiet, probably snoring quietly on a railway track.
Okay. Afolabi on our live stream on YouTube says BAT is learning on the job. The only president who was well prepared to lead was OBJ. Nigeria is 50 times more complex than Lagos. He will make initial mistakes. I wish him well for all our mistakes, for all our sakes.
Well, we don't want somebody learning on the job. Nigeria has gone past that. We don't want somebody who is learning on the job. To be honest with you, even those of us who don't have the experience that he has, there was no way I could run and process giving 12, how much was it now? 8,000 naira to 12
for 12 million.
I can't, at my level, I can't. So it's a symptom of something. And remember that he's been taking some arbitrary decisions. It says, if we want to be honest with ourselves, he has to be corrected. He has, those who are his handlers, his advisors, have to sit him down and tell him that, look, before you take any decision, let's all agree on something. He just said, subsidy is gone. See where we are. You don't learn on the job with this. It's not a time to be polite. It's a time to be truthful and for us to wag our finger. Do you know how many people have been affected by what's been happening in the last 2 months? Don't you know that it's possible that this has led to the death of certain persons? So it's not something to show support, or we are talking of people's lives here. We need to wag our finger to tell him that, sir, you need to step down, okay? You're not all-knowing. You know, and I remember also when he went to ECOWAS, I remember making a comment that, look, you are now the president. You're not just some politician on the rostrum. So some of these characteristics, you have to simmer down. You're the president. You're in the driver's seat. But that's the story for another day.
7:44. If you're just joining us, you're welcome. We're streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. Just type in Nigeria Info FM on those two platforms, and you'll be able to watch us live. Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3. YouTube, Nigeria Info 99.3. We're back online. Let's go to the Punch right now. This story reads, NUC, TUC land-based Tinubu as fuel hit 630 naira per litre, shun negotiation.
Well, this is the headline that of this same stories in all the papers.
Yeah.
This is the peaceful one, okay, that they just lambast him and so on and so forth. But a more frightening headline is in the Daily Trust. And the Daily Trust says, in their own headline, page 4, federal government on path to dictatorship, we will resort to self-help, NLC. Federal government on path to dictatorship, we will resort to self-help. That is frightening. That is frightening and should be taken seriously. That shows how desperate some people are, That shows how, it's like they've given up so early in the day. And don't forget that the NLC should be the forerunner of the opposition, since our parties always behave like parastatals of each other. If the PDP had been in government, it wouldn't have been any different. So I'll take the story from the Daily Trust angle, but safely go with the Punch headline. We call it headline. Labour kicks, I'm talking about Punch headline. Labour kicks against 8,000 palliative. That is gone now. Is it gone, or is going to be?
It's going to be revealed upward.
No, I think it should just go. It's not. This cash thing is not going to work. It's not going to work. When it was done in other times, it was for everybody. When the electricity bill went up I think it was in the UK or so, everybody got a piece of the action to cover the bill, and it was well documented. You have a proper register and so on and so forth. So there was no mago or wuru. Okay, so this one should go. Because when you are talking about the most vulnerable, they don't even have bank accounts anyway. And that's where fraudsters are waiting for us. So that goes. Okay, so what is going on here? The Daily Trust reports that it was tough for many Nigerians commuting around due to the latest hike. Okay, mass trekking was observed at the close of work in major cities across the country. Now, The NLC said yesterday that it was appalled by the latest hike in jump of price. Its president, Joe Ajaero, who said this in a statement, said they restrained themselves from making further comments publicly on the vexatious issues around the recent but unfortunate unilateral hike in the price of PMS in the guise of the so-called subsidy withdrawal, which has unleashed, predictably, as we had earlier warned, unimaginable and unprecedented hardship, sorrow, anguish, and suffering upon Nigerian workers and masses. He said while their patience was anchored on their strong and abiding faith in the outcomes of the processes of social dialogue and its mechanisms, especially within a democratic setting, the government of Nigeria seems to have been misled into believing that resorting to impunity and imperiousness in governance in a democracy is a beneficial option as it pursues its stated and unstated objectives. Okay? He says it is on this basis that the NSC strongly condemns the decision of the Tinubu-led administration to seek the approval to obtain another tranche of external loans worth 500 billion from the World Bank for the purposes of palliative. Okay. He also frowned at the proposal to pay National Assembly members the sum of 70 billion. And he said, this is what he said, Sheriff. Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
He said, this is the most insensitive, reckless, and brazen diversion of our collective patrimony into the pockets of public officers whose sworn responsibility is to protect our nation's treasury. He added that it appeared that the federal government was only deceiving Nigerians on how to manage the subsidy removal for the benefit of all. And he's been quoted as saying, it is important to inform Nigerians that despite having shown a readiness to commence work in the committees, listen to the sheriff, the federal government, which convenes the meeting, is yet to inaugurate, thus stalling the work of the proposed committee. Is yet to inaugurate the National Steering Committee, thus stalling the work of the proposed committees. We do not want to provide a cover for the government to get away with the hardship it has imposed on the people. We do not want to legitimize impunity. As a result, if the government does not want to stop these fortuitous actions that it is pursuing in the name of palliatives, we will be forced to constructively review our engagement with the government on this vexation issue and take matters in our own hands. Now, the definition is what is taking matter in their
They'll probably call for an industrial action.
One. What else?
It's Labour. That's what Labour would do.
You're sure they don't have any other strategy?
That's what Labour would do. They would just call for industrial action. Basically. That's what they're trying to say.
Fair enough. The government has to be careful. Okay.
Sorry, sir. One
Yes.
thing that stood out for me while you're reading was the fact that President Tinubu said there's going to be a committee, that all the stakeholders are part of. Labour will be part of it, and Labour is saying here in this statement
That nothing has happened.
Nothing has happened.
Yes.
And
decisions are being
guess what?
made.
They're supposed to sit today.
Yes. Let me be on. You see, let me be honest with you. We're virtually being polite about this thing. The truth is that Nigeria is in trouble. Call me alarmist, call me anything. If this is the style of governance we are going to have for the next 4 years, I am extremely afraid. And that is the truth. I'm not going to run away from it. If this is what we're going to have in the next 4 years, then we better brace ourselves for the almost a kind of thing I cannot even say it on air. Because apparently there seems to be a capacity problem. There appears to be a capacity problem at the top. Maybe part of the problem is that the government itself hasn't settled down.
Obviously, they have.
I have to say it in that manner. Don't let me look stupid. Have mercy on me. You are almost slapping me. Thank God your hands were in this nice jersey you're wearing. Thank God your hands were in your pocket. He was almost boxing me. That what is this man saying? Maybe no. That's the best way to prove it. There's obviously a government. Before you do, I don't know what the rush was all about. You don't even have a cabinet.
No
You don't.
cabinet.
You set up a committee. You don't. Nigeria is not a shoemaking, small shoemaking, industrial, whatever it is. This is big stakes. And part of it is, apart from the suffering of the people, you now want to impoverish us more. All these things you are doing put together, wouldn't it have been safer if you were still paying the whatever? And what is most important is this. I'm hoping that when they come together, when they put all the proposals together, part of it would include a message and instruction to the president that, look, this is the limit you can go in public office in buying ABC. For example, all these bulletproof SUV, this, we can't be suffering, trekking to work, and we see it's not going to happen. Members of National Assembly, it's not going to happen. So when you hear things like, when you hear things like, oh, the Labour said they would take, what was the word they used? I don't want to misquote them. When they say that they would, where is the thing itself? When they said that they would take something in their hands. Sherry,
It's inside here.
I'm too. When they say that we'll resort to self-help, don't push our people to also think that way. The labor people are organized and so on and so forth. Do not let individuals in little groups and whatever now think that they are going to resort to self-help. All of us will be consumed. All of us will be consumed. And we are getting very close to it. The level of desperation on the part of people. Yesterday I was telling you, all those killings in the East, they are not robbing anybody. That will tell you something. And there's still, yesterday I still saw in the papers, customs seizing cache of ammunition headed in that direction. It's not only in that direction that these arms are going. It's only that is the one that is the most visible. So we need to, the president needs to sit back and think of put the general well-being of individuals, ahead of all other things. And for God's sake, Mr. Godswill Akpabio, we have a National Assembly that by now we should be reading in the papers, discussing the crisis that our people are in. Every day I look in the papers at what's going on in the National Assembly, you don't even get a feel that Nigeria is in deep crisis. Very, very deep crisis. And the earlier all of us face this, and challenge those who have given this responsibility to do things on our behalf, the better it will be.
Do you think Mr. President should address the nation right now, just to
maybe what he should do, he might need to retract his steps all through. He might need. I leave that to the economists. I don't like saying things that I'm not sure of. But he needs to reassure people. I'm glad that he withdrew this one. But also, I don't want to hurry him to bring out his plans. Maybe he needs to suspend certain things to say, look, okay, I made a mistake. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Take his time and then come out with policies that. And one thing, when I saw is it Kamaderi or what you saw it now? When I saw him, the way the president was warmly welcomed by the French president and so on and so forth, whilst other Africans, other Africans were saying that no, we are not going to go this path. We must be treated as equals. And he didn't say anything at that time. We need to be careful. He needs to be careful. He needs to understand the World Economic Order that says that this world is competitive. And according to one video that I saw, somebody was saying, one Oyinbo man, I couldn't find out who he was saying something to the effect that Africa needs to be kept poor for the Western world to survive.
Yeah, I saw that video too.
You saw the video. That video alone should tell all of us something. So when the World Bank are offering you these and that loans to give out cash to people, remember you are still going to be owing them. That's a story for another day.
Let's take our next story, and this will be our last story for this morning. Anthrax, stop eating meat from sick animals. NCDC warns Nigerians.
If I were you, I'd stop eating meat. Do you know why? I've noticed, I was telling somebody late last night that one thing I've noticed, especially about buying food outside, is the quality of meat, even chicken. Chicken now tastes like paper. So what is happening is that people, understandably, are going for the cheapest, the base level. Okay, when you see some of the cars running across the road, something will tell you that more. So for me, I think it's better for you to play safe, and because I hear these anthrax can be deadly, blood coming out from the ears, the nose, and whatever. No, that was from brushing my teeth, the one I saw this morning. So what I would advise is just stop eating meat. There's no way you can determine a sick animal. If you go to a restaurant, you don't know whether it's even a dead animal that has been served on your whatever it is. So if there was a way you could say that, okay, let me put this sticker on the animal and see if it will turn red, you would know. No. So my advice really would be just stay off meat for a while. You won't die if you don't eat meat. You can eat beans as replacement for your whatever it is.
And that's our show this morning. It's good to be back online for those who watched online. Someone was saying that we didn't announce. Of course, we always announce every day that we're not online because of this, because of that. So perhaps you missed out while we're announcing that. But I'm glad that everybody could watch us this morning. We'll be back tomorrow as well. This morning is Diabumi, right?
Yes, sir. Okay. I haven't spoken to Auntie Bumi this morning.
Okay. That's coming up at 9 o'clock. Diabumi and Jimi Disu. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Thank you.
That's our show. We'll take this break. After the break, we'll continue our conversation on the fuel price hike. Good morning, Crossfire.
It's midnight. You're on an important call. Suddenly.
And I want to assume that you would run because I want to give the listeners context for the conversation.
In 2019, you were running mate to Atiku Abubakar. What did you learn then that you will not repeat this time?
Yes, when is the president coming out to address us?
There's a few things. One, I have a burden and a passion for young people.
The fact that you have elected a man does not mean then you begin to order him around. The president will do whatever is good for the country at any given time.
Mr. Adeshino, isn't the president responsible to the people?
What should the next president do to root out stakeholders who are complicit?
You fire those that need to be fired are fired.
It's looking like a brand new Chelsea, attacking with so much fluidity. And what can you say about that, Martin? I know you follow Chelsea quite closely.
I live close to the Chelsea training ground. That's what you mean by that. I'm not a
And I want to assume that you would run because I want to give the listeners context for the conversation.
In 2019, you were running mate to Atiku Abubakar. What did you learn then that you will not repeat this time?
Yes, when is the president coming out to address us?
There's a few things. One, I have a burden and a passion for young people.
The fact that you have elected a man does not mean then you begin to order him around. The president will do whatever is good for the country at any given time.
Mr. Adeshino, isn't the president responsible to the people?
What should the next president do to root out stakeholders who are complicit?
You fire those that need to be fired are fired.
It's looking like a brand new Chelsea, attacking with so much fluidity. And what can you say about that, Martin? I know you follow Chelsea quite closely.
I live close to the Chelsea training ground. That's what you mean by that. I'm not a